Hi, I'm Terry Colby.
And I'm Debbie Campany.
And we welcome you to Let's Get Real. I say it every time, but I don't know if you're watching it for the very first time. Let's Get Real. We talk about subjects that a lot of Christians have in their life, situations in their life, and not necessarily do we always want to get that patent Christian answer. We know that the word is truth, and it gives us so much instruction, and it's wonderful, and it never comes back void. But we want to get real on how we feel in our everyday life and certain things that we've both gone through, and we want to share those experiences with you to help you in your journey of life. It's the journey of life, right?
It sure is.
Okay, so for the last session on opinions, we have talked about know-it-alls in one of the things. We've talked we've talked about how to react to people. We talked about staying in your lane. And now our last one in this segment is boundaries. How boundaries can be blessings or it's learning how to have boundaries. Okay, Deb, you're the best. You're better at this than me.
Boundaries are a blessing, and God wants us to be boundaried. When you think about Jesus, when he was done ministering, he would go off and take time for himself, and he was also very, very boundaried. When he walked about, he was boundaried. He was with the people, but he knew when it was time. Okay, this is good.
Or the smile and nod.
Yeah, smile and nod.
Did Jesus smile and nod?
Jesus smiled. But the boundaries are really, God set them up for us to be a blessing in our lives. And, there's internal boundaries and there's external boundaries. And the internal boundaries, I'm going to do a little illustration here. Your internal boundaries are what guard your heart. Okay. So here's your internal boundaries. Okay. And your external boundaries is what protects us from the outside. And in between, I like calling it the mote. There's a moat in between your external boundaries and your internal boundaries. And I get to hold whatever ends up coming through hitting me externally. I get to hold it in that moat to decide if I'm going to allow it to pierce my heart. And so this was one of the best things that I learned in this whole, during my recovery, and it's just an amazing tool. And I'm so visual and illustrated anyway, and it just I got this. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I get to decide what comes in, because boundaries are fluid.
I get to decide.
I'm
writing this down, Deb. Okay?
You go. And boundaries are not walls. I was a very walled-in individual, and it is not a wall. Boundaries are meant to be fluid, and I picture my boundaries as a net, and I get to allow what comes through my net and what gets caught in my net. So I can have somebody spew awful things at me, and it never gets inside me because it's not mine. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not responsible for how that person is feeling in this moment. I can't make anybody else feel any way that they want to feel, and they can't make me feel any way. I get to choose if I'm going to be hurt by what is said, and I get to choose and share an impact on what somebody does say to me, which is a whole other teaching, because we're talking about the boundaries. So boundaries are meant to be blessings. They're not walls. They ebb and flow. I can readjust my boundaries depending upon trust within a relationship. I can decide to allow a little bit more in, keep a little bit more out. And it's a beautiful principle. And this is, I just want to share a little bit, because years ago, I read the Boundary book.
You're right. I have it, but I never get past the first chapter.
Yeah, the Boundary book. I read that, and I read it, and I'm going, oh my God, how do you set a boundary? Like, what do you mean? Like,
it almost can sound mean sometimes.
Well, and the thing is, this is the kicker. People don't need to know I'm setting the boundaries. And I made the mistake that I'd be going around telling people, I'm setting this boundary with you. I'm setting that boundary. And man, I was causing all sorts of stuff because I didn't understand how to apply the wisdom and the knowledge that I had gained. It took me a long time to get the boundary principle down for me.
Come on, teach it to me.
Yeah, I wish I could teach it all in 10 minutes, but it's really more like it's experiencing. So, your internal boundaries is your thought life, your emotional responsibility, and your self-talk. So let's say that you called me a name. Okay.
You want me to call you one?
Okay, go ahead. Call me a name. No. But I get to decide, oh my God, am I going to let that hurt me? Or is this just a reflection of what's happening inside of the other person?
Yeah. Or at the moment.
At the moment. So I learned not to allow these things to pierce my heart. And God's word says that Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart.
Right.
For everything you do flows from it. So when I'm guarding my heart and I'm not allowing and I'm just going to be real plain, real simple. There's those of you that have suffered verbal abuse, emotional abuse. Okay, those are internal boundary violations that take place. These words, those emotions get played with. They get hurt. Okay, those things in there, you need to heal that. That's your responsibility, is to heal that. You go to God, go to professionals, whatever you need to do to learn how to heal your own emotional health and well-being and your hurt.
Yeah.
Because when I learned how not to let other people's hurt, you remember the saying, Joyce Meyer, famous for, hurting people hurt people?
Yep.
Okay, that is so true. It's just 100% true. If I'm hurt, everything that comes out of here is going to be aimed at somebody else, to hurt somebody else. It does that.
Or one of our shows on frustration, the same thing.
Exactly. So it's like I am responsible for me, not the other person. But does that mean that something you say to me isn't really hurtful? Yes. Does that mean that I don't have a feeling attached to that? An internal boundary does not mean I'm stone cold on the inside. Those things happen. But because I am able to separate it from the person versus what the action, I guess, is probably the way to describe it, I'm able to share, might not be in that moment, might not be a day from then, might not be 72 hours from then. In fact, sometimes it may be a process all on my own that I do, but I am able to share how that impacted me.
That's interesting that you would say that, because I have a situation in my life too, and the person gets their feelings hurt so easy because they still haven't dealt with their emotional pain of whether it's real or not real.
Right.
Because the kids,
it's real to them.
It's real to them, and kids can see things differently than it really happened. And or you can take that negative thing that happened and then it's blown into something so much bigger than it was at the time, so that no matter when you go to give a suggestion, and there are relationships in your life you have to interact with the person, so you give that suggestion, that they automatically, because of their hurt and pain, think you are hurting me, and almost to the point that they're so hurt that you can't talk about anything, because it just triggers every thought. That's when somebody really needs some therapy.
Yeah.
But they have to be willing to go.
There's deep wounds, and our God can go in and heal every single area, but we've got to give God the avenue.
And we have to get honest.
And we have to get honest about it.
That we need help.
And a lot of times, like for me, I didn't know what I was feeling. I had no idea. When I started this walk, I literally downloaded a feeling wheel off the internet, and based upon the behavior or what was happening in my body, I literally had to backtrack to find out, oh, that's what I'm feeling. Right. Because I had stuffed feelings for so long.
Yeah, we talked about that in one of the shows too.
Yeah.
When you're a stuffer.
But it totally affects, because that's what created my wall. Learning boundaries keep me safe. I know today that my safety lies with God and myself. And it's just a gift to have other people in my life that will also help me to keep me safe, right?
But I like what you said earlier. You don't have to start telling somebody. You just crossed your boundary.
No.
Then it becomes such a mean thing. But instead, it's just really internally adjusting to these. And sometimes it takes adjusting to the boundaries.
Yep. And I can, boundaries confuse the daylights out of me. So if you're confused right now, don't feel bad, okay? And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, this is coming across your path because this is very, very important.
It's real.
We need, I used to meet people who had healthy boundaries, and I'd be like, oh my God, like they said no. Like no is the best boundary ever. Like using the word no is a wonderful boundary.
And if you're a people pleaser,
it's
so
awesome.
learn how to say no. I have the funniest story with that. Because I was someone who would just say yes to everybody, especially in ministry, because you thought, well, you're supposed to help people, you're supposed to do this. Oh, I'm capable, I am gifted in that area, so I could help them. And it was in my younger years, and I was, I wasn't the senior pastor yet, and but I was in music ministry, so there was always a demand for me to do something. And so we got real involved with Fern House at the time. And the pastor at Fern House was just amazing. And this is when they were first starting out. We were on Military Trail. And so I was asked if I would, coordinate their music program. And so that was just an added thing. And this pastor sat me down and said, Sherry, you got to learn how to say no. It was terrible because the first person I had to say no to was him. Because I realized I just couldn't keep it up. I'd done it for a couple of years. And saying no, but you know what? Once you've done it a few times, I can say no today. I can say no. Or being in ministry, it's funny because I just got a call yesterday from somebody outside of the church, and they want me to do something. All right. And they want me to do it on my day off. All right. Now, normally in the past, I would have said, oh, I don't matter. Sometimes my family would have to sacrifice for me to run over and do something for somebody else. And, learning to say, I'll have to get back to you. I'm not so sure that I can help you out in that situation.
Yeah.
And feeling okay.
Exactly.
I can't, it's so comforting to learn to say no without feeling guilty.
Exactly.
There's no guilt. It's just that, that just doesn't work in my schedule.
And I want to say this. Boundaries are not to be figured out. They're to be walked out. And there is a process in learning.
I keep writing down this stuff. Yeah. Not figured out, figured out.
In other words, I wouldn't be sitting there right now going, oh my God, how can I figure this all out? It's overwhelming me. It's like how I can't even begin to comprehend this. No, you just have to be willing to say, I need to take a look at what I'm allowing in my life and what's touching me that's stealing my peace.
Yeah. And joy.
And yes, and my peace and my serenity are my number one guides today. Is when I go outside of them, I know that I can be irritable, I can be discontented.
Well, what's the serenity prayer?
Yeah, God,
I can wait.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage.
That last one is the courage to know the difference.
To change the things I can.
Right, you got it.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
Right. Yep. Some things are never going to change. And when you accept that, there is a peace that comes on you.
Exactly.
You know what? Or maybe I just have to accept that person for who they are.
Yep. And all in like even the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven.
I just preached that one.
These are like the go-to grounding, the ground zeros for me are those, like if I don't know what else to do, I'll just say them. And it's like a settling for me. And again, we talked about this, it's the pause. So, the boundaries are blessings in your life. They're not perfect. You don't need to tell everybody what you're doing. Oh, but what about when I do need to set a boundary? What if I have a loved one who's who's in addiction that, I need to set this boundary. I want to just say this. Do not set a boundary unless you are willing to go through with it.
See,
and
that's
that
hard.
is that right there. Your boundary should be at the level that you are capable of taking action. If you are not capable of taking action, do not go there, because when you do not, or when you're incapable of setting that boundary, you are setting yourself back.
And sometimes it takes time.
It does take time.
And I think I always wish people would understand my situation that I was dealing with in it. Is sometimes it takes steps. You can't throw this boundary up here. Can we just kind of get one little step at a time?
And Pastor Sherry, I may get to that step faster than you did, or you may get to it faster than me. This is my walk. I get to walk this out with my God. Okay, you're not walking it out for me.
And it goes back to that opinion, because some people financially have the money to go. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave for a while, and they can go get a place, or with this that. Other people don't have the luxury of that. So, well, I think that we're out of time.
Yeah.
All right.
This was so good.
We've covered so much in the last 4 sessions. And once again, we are so glad you turned into Let's Get Real. We encourage you to share this. We're hoping that this show will really help a lot of people. And again, if you don't have a home church, we invite you to Victory Worship Center at 1915 North A Street in Lake Worth, Florida. Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. The Tuesday experience is absolutely incredible. If you want to experience the power and presence of God, we're going to deep worship and allow the Holy Spirit to do whatever He wants to do. And then we have the Thursday morning chat that I do live on Facebook, 8:30 sharp. So, Deb, you have been such a complete joy. I'm so glad God said, I want you to do this show, and I want you to do it with Deb Campany. So you are such a blessing. All right. Until next time, we'll see ya on Let's Get Real.